who is the founder of adapts.org. Welcome, Robin. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're super excited.
Oh, yeah.
So, Robin, we'll jump right into it. Tell us a little bit about adapts.org. I know we found you at the Boston Abilities Expo, and we're really excited to see just something different out there and an organization thinking about our community in a different way, outside the box,
right.
in a way that's financially feasible for the person. So that was, and for an organization or for a corporation. So that was really exciting. So tell us a little bit about, before we get really into Adapts and what Adapts is, tell us a little bit about you and yourself, and how you're connected to the special needs community.
Okay. So, I live in San Francisco. I'm a retired flight attendant. And after I left the airlines, I went back to school to become a physician assistant. And I did that for about 12 years. And then I moved over to the pharma industry. So all said and done, after 30 years in professional business, I retired and from everything and then started this business. And it came about because I have a frequent flyer friend, John Morris, who blogs under wheelchairtravel.org. He called me up one day and said, I want to pick your brain. He uses a power chair. He's a triple amputee. And he said, if there's an emergency evacuation on the airplane, how am I going to get out? And I basically said, well, how do you think you're getting out? And he said, I think I'm going to have to rely on the kindness of strangers, or I'm going to have to army crawl out of the plane. Mm-hmm. And, it just got me thinking. And I sort of felt like Richard Dreyfuss in Close Encounters, where I was obsessed like all night long, tossing and turning, thinking about him and people like him getting out of a plane in an emergency evacuation, because, the airlines really don't have a plan for those people.
No. Yeah. I mean, I think we've seen that even ourselves, that just kind of like isn't even a thought. It's like, everything's going to be fine. So you won't have to worry about it.
Yep. Yeah. Able people don't think about how they're getting out of a plane in an emergency. Or they don't want to think about it.
Exactly.
And so, it's also true for people with disabilities. And anyway, in the morning, I woke up and felt like I was hit by a thunderbolt, and got my yoga mat out and some rope and fashioned the first prototype of the DAPS. And then it was kind of off and running from there. We did a Kickstarter campaign, and which was a nail biter. We funded our goal by $19.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know how hard it is to do a crowdfunding type campaign. It's not an easy feat.
Oh, it's not.
Oh my gosh. It was so scary. It literally nail biting. I mean, I was at my friend's house and we were just watching, on the website, and all of a sudden at like the 12th hour, someone came on and bought one that put us right over the edge. And I was so grateful. And it's just sort of been that kind of a story ever since. Every roadblock has sort of been, scary, but we overcame it, and can't remember who put us in touch with the Abilities Expo people, but that has been phenomenal because that's our target audience.
Yeah.
People who use wheelchairs. And I sort of look at manning the booth and talking to people as, that's sort of my marketing plan, is building awareness that way. And it's gone now from being, an emergency evacuation plan on an airplane to an emergency evacuation plan anywhere. But it's also turned into kind of the emergency evacuation sling that you could also use every day. Mm-hmm. You mentioned going to, your son's grandparents to the pool. And if there's no, hoist to get someone in and out of the pool, you could use it for that. Or how many times do you go to hotels and the hoist isn't working at the hotel?
Yeah.
But our customers have become our source of research and development.
Oh, that makes sense. I mean, they're the ones using it. So listening to what their needs are.
They come back all the time at the booth and say, oh my gosh, we bought this last year and this happened and it came in handy for, to use it for that. And one lady said that they didn't buy it she went home. This is in Chicago. She went home and her next door neighbor collapsed. And the first thing they said was, oh my God, if only we'd had that, sling. So
Yeah.
I hear stories like that all the time.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about ADAPTS, what it is exactly. What is ADAPTS?
So it's a portable transfer sling, and it looks kind of like a soft stretcher or, a hammock, if you will. It kind of cradles the person it's a one-size-fits-all apparatus, but it sort of cradles them, and the handles act as a way to kind of engulf them in the sling to hold them in place. So it's been tested to hold up to 450 pounds in the laboratory, and it's got 6 handles. So if you actually have someone that heavy, then you can disperse the weight, with the 6 handles that go all the way around.
So it's not a difficult thing to utilize because you have the weight distributed no matter who's in it. And you can have multiple, you can decide 2 people, 3 people, 4 people helping carry.
Yeah. And if you need head support, then you can use all 3 handles up at the top, and it creates a little sort of pocket for the head to lie in,
That's a great idea.
And one of our biggest questions in the booth is how much weight will it hold? And, it's tested to hold 450 pounds, but obviously if you have someone that heavy, you're going to have probably 6 people
carry that,
doing the lifting. And so because it's designed to be used for times when a hoist isn't available or there's no time to put a hoist together, like, for example, on an airplane, you can't put a hoist together to get someone out, it's a manual lifting sling. So it really, the people who are doing the lifting have to be able to lift,
that weight.
But in an emergency, I can imagine it's just who's willing to jump on board and help. And in that situation, it must be less daunting when you're like, I have this thing, I just need help. Can someone, I can't imagine people wouldn't just jump in and be like, I'm here to help.
Oh, absolutely. Or like, imagine if you're at a hotel and the elevators are out and you need to get someone down the stairs. We actually have a drawing and pictures of John Morris. We have a video too, going down the stairs, 2 guys, carrying him down using the sling. We use that in our marketing, but I mean, so you knock on the door of the person across the hall or next door and say, hey, grab a handle and, help us get out.
Yeah. And it's not taking somebody that needs to know about
anything other than that. I can do this.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, if anybody can do it as long as they have the strength to, lift the person. So, yeah, I mean, that's basically, it's really simple, and that's by design, The other part of the design is it folds up into itself to create like a little tote that you could put in the bottom of a backpack, or you could roll it up and put it in a purse or a computer bag, and, you could roll it up and put it behind you like a lumbar pillow. So,
well, I think that's super important too, because I know like for other wheelchair users that we know, they're like, and even for us with Eddie, like we're already carrying a bunch of supplies and we're trying to be as discreet as possible for his independence. And so something that can be like, that looks like a tote or can just slide underneath or behind you just is discreet enough. So you still have your, I guess the independence is the best word to use, but your modesty, you're not just being like, oh, I have to carry this thing around with me because someone's going to have to carry me. It's not something you should be shamed. It's just like, oh, I have this thing in case of an emergency and it looks like a tote bag and it's just underneath my chair.
Right. And there are people who, I think there are a lot of paraplegics that are pretty adept at, in themselves around. They could easily, get onto it if they needed to at the last minute, if someone is, needs more help than that isn't as adept at moving around, then they can put it on their wheelchair at home and go off and do whatever it is they want to do. And if there's a time they need to make a transfer for, let's say, for example, they go to Disneyland or something, then you just use it to get in and out of the rides all day long.
What a great idea. I mean, we were thinking that when we went to Disney World, like Eddie, so many times they say, can you transfer? And I think, what if you can't? Like, do you just not get to go on that ride? Like, who's helping you? Like luckily Eddie can just pop right out of his wheelchair and jump on the ride in the wheelchairs just to help him from getting fatigued. But there's so many instances where I'm sure, if someone who's elderly who can't just transfer themselves, or,
Right.
we have friends whose children are just larger now and they can't carry them anymore and lift them. As you talk about what ADAPTS is, I'm like, my brain is just running on all the different ways. Even I know someone that could use it in a whole different way. You have someone who's got Alzheimer's and their body's just starting to kind of shut down a little bit, like having to lift them or carry them or transfer them from, just moving from laying in the bed to up and getting dressed in the day. Yep. Anything that can just help you transfer somebody is
getting into the car.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if you saw when you looked on our website, but we have a picture of a gentleman. His daughter sent us the picture because she bought it for him just so that it gives him a little boost to get up and out of the out of his lazy boy chair, the recliner. He just needs that extra little oomph to get up out of the recliner. And the Amy Delgado, the woman I mentioned about abilities hacker, she found us at the Chicago Expo and wanted to know about school safety. And now that the fall is coming, hopefully kids will be back in school, but she wanted to highlight the fact that schools need a safety, evacuation plan for kids in wheelchairs. And right now, a lot of schools, if there's more than one level, they use evacu chairs, which are like wheelchairs that go downstairs, but those are super expensive and take a lot of time to put together. And
I can imagine too, if you have more than one child in the school, that's
exactly.
What are you doing? You wait for them to go back upstairs. What if this is like a true emergency and you don't have a lot of time? You're waiting for it to go back up for that child.
Yeah, it's like Sophie's Choice. Who gets to go in the wheelchair and go down first? And then once it's down there, somebody's got to bring it back up to get the rest of the kids. So for the cost of one of those kind of wheelchairs, like 10 kids could have their own sling with them at all times while they're at school.
That's theirs. Yeah. And it's just, seems...
So she sort of brought to light for me another market I hadn't really thought about,
Yeah.
And so it's just amazing how the community, I call it adapts, but it's kind of adapted, various needs in the community kind of on its own, Well,
I think it's a community that's not had a choice. Like you said, Amy Delgado's job is or she's doing this to figure out ways to hack things. A lot of people in this community are doing that because it's life for them. Like they're adapting to the world around them, not the other way around.
Right.
So they're just having to find ways to make things work so that they can get around and be independent and live life that way. So something like this seems like such a no-brainer. I don't know how someone didn't think of it sooner. You're like, what?
Well, I've said that myself too. Here's what's really interesting about the airline industry. So the last study on how to evacuate people with disabilities was conducted in 1977 at by the FAA at CAMI, which is the I think the acronym is Civil Aeronautics Medical Institute in Oklahoma City. Anyway, they got people together with various disabilities and tried to determine how fast they could evacuate in an airplane. And this airplane was a Boeing 727 that is not even in service anymore. Of course, 1977 is more than 40 years ago. And the configuration back in 1977 on airplanes was similar to what our first class looks like now.
Much more space.
They've crammed way more, people into planes, and the rows are narrower. And, if someone's sitting on the aisle, the people in the middle seat and the window seat aren't able to get out until that person is moved, So it's very different inside a cabin. But those studies haven't been updated since then.
Yeah, so they're not interested the same that they should be in kind of thinking about the community and how it'll work. Right
now the plan is what they call grab and go, where someone, presumably a crew member, grabs the person under the arms and the other person grabs them under the knees, and they lift them into the aisle and run to the exit with them, and which is all fine and good if the person has legs, or if they don't have some sort of neurological disease that prevents them from providing resistance when they're lifted under the arms,
Yep.
you know, there's just what if they had brittle bone disease,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. You're gonna do more harm
honestly,
than good.
going to injure them.
just the how it would make you feel on the inside to just for somebody to, I'm just going to pick you up, like throw you over my shoulder and we're going to go like,
Right.
Yeah.
you know, it shouldn't be where you feel that you're just like a child being taken care of. You know, this should be something that you feel independent. You're bringing this to them. Hey, I have this thing. You know, every plane should just have it for the cost that it is. It's just no reason why they shouldn't just have this on every airplane.
Right. Well, my dream is that the airlines would have them in all of the safety kits on the airplanes. And there's one safety kit for every 50 seats, up to 4. So the bigger airplanes, you know, like an Airbus 350 would just have 4, period. You know, but the smallest jet would have at least 1.
Yeah.
And but someone could be injured in a crash or in a emergency landing, and you know they wouldn't even necessarily have to be a person who was a person with a disability. They could be someone that's, you know, injured in the airplane, or even a crew member. And so the flight attendants could run to it, grab it, you know, get the person on it, get them out of the plane.
Now, do you see a lot of pushback with that? Like with you know, organizations or whatever pushing back saying, well, you know, there's not that many emergencies on an airplane for this to be justified or something like that, where you have to then say, well, there's so many other opportunities to utilize this in a safety way that's only benefiting them, really.
Right. Well, we don't get pushback that overtly.
Never, right.
And it's also really difficult to get to the right people, you know, who make the decisions about these kinds of things. So a big part of, like getting together with the people at All Wheels Up is trying to lobby the government and, you know, raise awareness with the FAA and, you know, Department of Transportation and, you know, various other entities that, number one, we need to update the 1977 study
For
now
sure.
that there's actually a device. So let's do a study and a test and see how much safer and how much quicker it is to get people out of the airplane than just grab and go.
Yeah. And we know so much more now. I feel like it doesn't even make sense not to I mean, stuff like that should just always be re-looked at, considering how quick technology changes, how quick, you know, how much we learn with science. Everything just should be updated just to see where we're at and check ourselves.
Even I forgot what I was going to say about the. We do have one story where someone actually used ADAPS in an emergency evacuation on an airplane.
Oh, that's great. I mean, not great, but great.
Yeah. It turned out good. The LA Expo, the first one that we exhibited at, a woman bought ADAPS for her and her teenage son, who I think had CP. She and her husband and the son were traveling from Toronto to Washington, D.C., and they had an emergency landing for smoke in the cabin and did an evacuation on the tarmac. And she and her husband used it to get her son out and down the slide. And then they gave it to the flight attendant and told them there's an elderly lady inside, you know, to, you know, go back and get her out. So they did. And that basically simulated the two ways that ADAPS would be used, at least on an airplane. One is if the passenger had their own with them and used it the way they did. And two is if the flight attendant were to run to the safety kit, grab it out of the safety kit and use it to help somebody get out.
Now, just out of curiosity, like if somebody, I mean, I think a lot of this is assumption of like people have, you know, maybe they have it with them, they put it on the seat before they sit down, things like that. But what if it is an emergency, you're not planning on using it, something comes up? Is it easy to transfer someone who maybe doesn't have the same physical ability to kind of like, you know, roll themselves or whatever, or get onto it? What, you know, how simple or easy is it for somebody to transfer themselves onto the ADAPS?
Yeah. So you know about the log roll, right? Like if you're going to change a seat under someone, you log roll them. Same thing. If they're sitting in a seat on an airplane and you need to get it under them, then they just sort of log roll over, tuck it under, log roll back, pull it through, and then grab them and grab the handles and lift them into the aisle and off you go to the exit.
I mean, that sounds like seconds in an emergency, considering what it could take to try to
get your wheelchair out and then
or
have that.
you can't even get that out in an emergency.
That's not
Yeah.
happening.
And this is what people often don't think about is their wheelchairs checked in cargo.
Right.
So
They're inaccessible.
and even some airplanes have onboard collapsible wheelchairs that they
Right.
use like on a long flight to get someone to the lavatory or whatever. But you can't put that together in an emergency, number one. And number two, you can't send something bulky and sharp down an inflatable slide.
Right.
So that's one reason why ADAPS was designed with no buckles or, anything sharp that might, poke a hole in the slide. And it had to be something really simple that you could pretty much intuitively know. You just grab a handle and go.
I think you coming from really multiple sides of the community, coming as a flight attendant, being in the medical community, really just seeing it all is probably what made you prep to be a perfect person to kind of create something like this, because you really can see the need. You're not having to jump through any hoops. You see the needs. You know what will work, what won't work. All of those things. I think that really kind of puts you in the best position possible.
Well, I think that's all my experiences sort of dovetailed into this one, moment where I can pull on that experience and that knowledge. Whereas some of the other devices out there, the people who designed them don't understand necessarily why their device wouldn't be able to be used in an evacuation or other similar ideas that just take too much time to put together, or they're too complicated to explain how to use or whatever. Or they're made out of webbing and you don't want to be sitting on webbing for a long flight.
No.
You want to be comfortable at the same time.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it comes with the same idea of that you just want that independence and that sense of self. You don't want to feel like you're in a situation that isn't just a comfortable situation for you.
Right. We do get a lot of questions too about like, why is it made in yellow? And the reason is because emergency equipment on the airplane is yellow. The oxygen masks are yellow. The life rafts are yellow. The life vests are yellow. And it's kind of the universal color of distress, you know?
So now have you considered doing other colors for people that are using this in a non-emergent situation? So people that are using it as transfer, things like that? Yeah,
well, I mean, we'd be happy to do that. The thing is it's expensive to do in small lots. So if there were a company, like let's say an airline wanted to buy them for, the whole airline, and let's say their colors were, blue and red. Sure, we'll make them all blue and all red and put their branding on them, if that's what they want. But one-off orders, it's just really expensive to do multiple colors until we get enough of a following,
Yeah, until you grow it. Well, I can't imagine. It's only a matter of time because it just seems like such a need. I can't see how it would change.
Well, the other point I want to make about the yellow color is in low light circumstances where you have smoke in the cabin and you want to be seen, you want it to be obvious that this is a person who needs help and.
Oh, that's such a good point. I don't think you don't think of that, especially, and if you're using it, like you said, if someone's got to be transferred onto it or off it, you want to be able to see it clearly in an emergency situation so that, you're not having any difficulties with it and the person's not having any difficulty. No one's having difficulties with it. It's just you're on and off of it easily.
Right.
I guess, the idea I would assume is be as quick as possible.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. It's just when time is of the essence, And when it's not, you can use it to see the world, take it to a hotel room or, like I mentioned, the amusement parks.
Yeah.
Or you go to a friend's house that's not accessible and you need to get up the stairs. They have, a handful of stairs getting into the house, or maybe they have a pool and don't have a hoist.
Yeah. So who are you selling these to primarily? Is it mainly individuals, organizations, corporations? Like who's your main demographic right now?
Well, right now, originally it was the airlines, but when we realized how difficult it is to get to the right people and the decision makers, we decided, well, let's take it to the community and build awareness. So our main market is, the attendees for the Abilities Expos.
Awesome.
And so originally I thought it was going to be wheelchair users who are, travelers and, maybe sports teams that are going to the Paralympic Games, those kinds of people. But what I found out after I got to the Abilities Expo is probably my biggest market are the people with CP.
Yes.
The families, they just look at it and say, oh my gosh, this is, like you said, a no-brainer. And, the kids are getting bigger and heavier for the one parent to handle. And
Yep.
As they grow, they need something where, both people can help. So my market has kind of morphed into more that kind of demographic than necessarily the paraplegic market.
Well, hopefully the more individuals, it's kind of like the, what comes first, the chicken or the egg, but like the more individuals that are purchasing this, it's almost like, why wouldn't they just I think it'll hopefully get to a point where then it's like, oh, we need to have this on our airplane. We need to have this in our doctor's office. We need to have this at the, just everywhere. So that, I'm even thinking like nursing homes, like how many times are nursing home aides having to lift somebody and transfer somebody? It's not even healthy for their employees and safe for their employees. I'm thinking about COVID and there's like so many less employees working right now and they're in a tough situation. Having something like this, it's just also lifting a burden off of people, caretakers as well.
Right.
Well, I don't know if you remember, but one of the hurricanes a couple years ago, there was a nursing home right across the street. This is in Miami, I think, right across the street from a hospital. And people died in that nursing home because they couldn't get them
across the street
to the hospital. And a lot of some of the neighborhood emergency response teams will teach roll up a blanket and put the person on the blanket and then grab the edges of the blanket to carry them. But have you ever tried doing that?
That seems extremely dangerous.
It's really hard.
Yeah, your fingers can barely hold on to the roll that you've created.
Yeah.
So, I wish that my company had been further along at that time. It would have been great to donate to, places like that to help with their evacuation. I'd love to get it into FEMA,
or the Red Cross or somebody that can.
Right. For those times when they have, getting people to shelters, we have wildfires in California and earthquakes, if there's rubble outside, you're not going to be able to take a wheelchair.
Yeah.
But if you get people to a shelter and the shelters aren't equipped necessarily to handle, have accessible accommodations, then, having something like this to help get people
moving around.
And again,
huge.
I can't imagine being in a situation like that. You're already losing a lot. You're already scared. You're already in a difficult situation. And, some of these people probably maybe don't have a caretaker with them and they're alone. And, to know that FEMA's thinking about me, or the Red Cross is thinking about me, or whoever, that they have this item. It's like, oh, okay, I'm not just I'm not just collateral damage here in this situation. I'm part of the situation and they're looking to help all of us.
Right. We had, here's one for the highway patrol people out there. California Highway Patrol came up to us, our very first Abilities Expo, and said, oh my gosh, we need these, if we can just put these in the trunk of every patrol car. When they get a 911 call because someone's fallen at home.
Yes.
Yep.
They have to send 2 patrol cars out so that there are 4 people to help get them up off the floor.
Or wait for an EMT or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so if they had adapts in the patrol car, they'd only have to send one patrol car and the other one could be out,
Yep.
doing what they normally do. And it would only take 2 people to get them up off the floor.
So really, we're also saving taxpayer money, which everybody likes to do.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Well, and with the disclaimer that they haven't, gotten some sort of C-spine injury or something.
Yeah.
That's all been ruled out. But
so many, I feel like so many calls or responses to just a fall, just somebody who fell and can't get back up.
Right.
And just need help, and they're calling because they don't have anyone to help them up. And we've experienced that in our own family that, someone's got to be able to go get them. And, I know like around here, if you're in an independent living situation, they're not allowed to touch you. They're not allowed to go up there. They're not allowed to anything. So, they can't help you off the floor. If there's situations like this, it just seems like it's crazy to me that everyone wouldn't just have this available and be out there. Yeah. So we need to help get the word out because this is
that's the role of today is
needed.
To keep projecting that out for you guys. Keep hopefully sales going up because it's an amazing product that really helps with independence. You do have it's a form of confidence, and we're learning like confidence is huge for people in the disability community because it's hard to obtain that a lot of times, and then that independence builds that confidence, and having that is tremendous. So you guys are providing like a great service here, which is awesome.
So I want to shift a little bit because I actually have some questions. I did a little research and watched some of your videos, but I heard you mention like briefly in one of them that you have a packing plant in upstate New York that employs individuals in the special needs and disabilities community.
Right.
How did you get involved in that? I think that's awesome. You're like doing 2 things at once here.
That was another networking opportunity from the Abilities Expo. It was the New Jersey Abilities Expo, and a woman who worked at Pine Ridge Industries, she's in charge of business development, came up to me and said, we want to, get your contract and we want to be able to do your fulfillment. And so I went out to visit them. It was before the Boston Expo. I figured, well, I'll stop and see her. It was in Schenectady, New York, on the way to Boston. And so took a tour of the facilities, and I was really impressed. Yeah, they employ people from the disability community. They are not a sub-minimum wage employer, so they pay them,
fair
minimum wage, and they bid the contract that way. And basically, they take delivery of the slings, and they're made from the factory. Our factory is in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and they ship them to Pine Ridge Industries in Schenectady. And then they do all the QA, and they do the folding, and then they do the packing, and they do the inventory. And then when we get an order, they get the order and they pack it and ship it out.
So they're pretty much, other than the manufacturing of it, they're pretty much doing it all there.
Yeah, they do all they call it picking and packing, picking and fulfilling.
Nice.
And shipping.
So how many is it? I'm assuming they do that with other companies, other businesses as well. It's not just Adapts.
No, they have several other companies. They have one. I wish I remembered the name of it, but it's a woman that has an environmentally friendly diaper for babies.
Nice.
And she's probably their biggest company that's in there. Been in there for a number of years, and the rest are all small businesses like mine.
That's awesome. I think it's awesome that there's an opportunity.
They have like a maple syrup company and, other things like that. It's not just, they happen to be people that employ people in the disability community. And mine happens to be a product used by the disability community. Yeah. But all the products there are not. Mine may even be the only one that is actually used by the disability community.
You're probably their favorite then.
What?
You're probably their favorite.
Yeah, I like to think so.
I think that's really awesome. I think it's awesome to you're helping double duty there without even realizing it. I mean, it's difficult, I think, when someone's in the disability community to get employed or be employed just with stigmas, with anything that's going on. And wage pay is another huge, conversation we've had a lot. And I think the fact that there's industries out there that are willing to just be like, this is what we're going to do and this is how we're going to do it, and the fact that you can kind of do that and help the community this way too, you're really making a double difference there.
Call it a twofer.
So, yeah.
Twofer.
Our factory's in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and they have been, I don't know what you want to call it, moved over now to making PPE for healthcare providers. So they've been working round the clock, 10, 12-hour days,
crazy.
Getting caught up with PPE. But they've managed to squeeze in little blocks of orders for, refilling our inventory for ADAPT so we can stay ahead of, the orders as they come in.
Yeah, I know it's tough, but I think everybody's in a position where they just understand that if they order something, we're going to get it when we get it.
Yeah.
We kind of lost the whole I need it from Amazon tomorrow kind of attitude, and we understand that like everything's being fulfilled when it can get fulfilled.
Yeah.
Most people.
I think this is the time for people to be very forgiving about that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I agree.
There's nothing we can do about it, really. So I also noticed you have some really, separate from what I feel like other corporations or businesses or companies do, is you have this resource that people can purchase and use, but you seem to have a lot of great resources on your website for anyone looking to use or purchase one of them. I was pretty impressed with seeing how easily, okay, so you have one now. What can I use it for? How can I use it? You have all these great videos and resources on your site. I guess this isn't really a question, but I was just really, I'm impressed by that. And I also see that it seems to, if I was somebody that was like on the fence about purchasing something like this, maybe from being apprehensive to thinking this might be difficult to use, you didn't really seeing it in use. You know what I mean?
Right.
In the mainstream, like I'm not out somewhere and see someone using it as often at the moment. Seems like a great way to help ease any apprehension in that way.
Right. Well, the videos came out that we put up on our YouTube channel. The videos came out as a result of people coming up to us at the booth and saying, well, how do I fold it back up again? Oh, my gosh, that's like our number one.
I bet. It's like a map.
Video. It's really simple to fold back up, but it's not intuitive. So we did a video. And same thing with, well, how do I get it under the person if they're already sitting in their wheelchair or sitting in an airline seat or whatever. So we found 3 different ways to do that. There may be more. If there are more, we'd love to hear from people. But 3 different ways to do that, and they'll all depend on the person's disability. How much upper body strength they have, and so forth. So we did 3 videos of that. We did videos of what it looks like to get someone up off the floor, or how do you get it under them when they're lying on the floor, or just it's come through questions that people have had, and we'll have a conversation with someone in the booth, and then we'll go, well, let's make a video.
Well, I think that's great. I mean, there's so many times where you hear companies be like, oh, that's a good question, I'll answer it, and then that kind of goes by there, and not thinking outside the box. And there are probably a lot of other people with that same question.
Oh yeah,
I'm a type of person that needs
you can
videos.
tell by the number. Yeah, you can tell by the number of times the video's been viewed. The ones getting it under them when they're already sitting in the wheelchair, folding it back up. Obviously, those are popular, but yeah, I mean, it's like I said, our research and development comes from our customers.
Yeah. I think that's the right way to do it.
Because that's the community that's using it. That's the demographic. Right. So to have that feedback from them and stuff too, I think is huge. So, which is great.
So you mentioned All Wheels Up,
right?
Tell us a little bit about your partnership with them, like what you do with All Wheels Up and who they are, what they're doing.
Right. So All Wheels Up is a grassroots organization, nonprofit, that is trying to get a wheelchair spot on airplanes. Similar to what you would have on a bus or a train, a place where a wheelchair could lock down and the person could ride in their wheelchair on the airplane. And so the woman who started it is Michelle Irwin, and she has a son with a disability, and she's, they want to travel as a family by air. And so she's just done a remarkable organizational effort. She's networked with various airlines and airplane manufacturers and restraint systems, and she does fundraising. It's just an incredible organization. And so anyway, I was invited to be on the board of directors to help her with advising about cabin safety and why some of the concepts, what needs to be considered in terms of what the FAA might say, or, what might happen in an evacuation. And, so I help out with that, and we've made a couple trips to Washington to talk to various congressional representatives and their staff. We're trying to get the 1977 study updated in this way, and so sort of all of our political activism between our two organizations has kind of fallen together under the All Wheels Up umbrella.
I think that's awesome. I think we're at a time right now where it seems to be another little shift in advocacy and in disabilities, where I can see it, just even with school and stuff, where there just seems to be a shift where the conversation's changed. And instead of it being where, there's just not enough people for it to make a difference, or where to be like, this isn't a minority group to the point where it doesn't matter enough to adjust things around it, which is a joke, because it clearly, a lot of our country and world are affected by this, about special needs or disabilities on whatever level that is.
Well, and I think, back in 1977, there weren't as many people with disabilities traveling. Yes. And now they're able to live much more healthy lives, much more mobile lives. There are a lot more technological advances and gadgets and all kinds of things to make travel really comfortable,
Yeah.
And the one thing that has been sort of a, roadblock to being really travel accessible is airline travel.
Yeah.
There's a huge worry about wheelchairs being damaged in the cargo hold, and that's a huge concern. And of course, airlines have to report on that now. But the airlines themselves have become very much more receptive to these ideas.
Yeah.
And now is the time,
For sure.
It's accessibility and inclusion is a huge topic lately.
Yeah.
And I think airlines are starting to realize that, and hotels too, it's not just airlines,
Yeah.
but, any place where amusement parks, arenas, wherever, they're starting to realize people with disabilities are mobile, they have money, they want to travel, they want to enjoy life and see the things that everybody else is able to see without roadblocks.
Yes. Right. Well, I think that's the key. Money. I mean, it sounds crazy, but the reality is we're a consumer, society where the thing that's going to speak the most to a large corporation or something like that is, how is this going to affect their bottom line? How can they make more money doing something? And all the time, I mean, there's a reason why Disneyland, Disney World, their accommodations are so great. They understand that a core group of their customer base is looking for this inclusion.
Yep.
And so if everyone thought that way and realized how it can only benefit them, even if that's the way we have to get it out there. Yeah. Obviously it's more of a moral issue, but if I'm going to talk to you about money and that's what's going to get you to make the change, let's make the change.
Right.
Well, what's also interesting about this topic is that at any given moment, any one of us could become a member of the disability community.
Exactly. Yep.
And, the people making the decisions and the corporate decisions, either they or a family member could become a member of the disability community. And that's when all of a sudden they're going to get religion and realize, why have we neglected this?
Yeah. Now this matters to them.
Now it matters to me because it affects me directly. And I think that's what we need to. Well, what we're seeing is we're kind of moving towards a more empathetic society, because you do have, social media can be taken as it wants to be, but you're spreading this information. You're spreading the idea that there are people out there that need this help. They need these kinds of things, and you can't deny it because here we are here I am a fully able-bodied person who gets to enjoy these things.
Yeah.
But it's that everybody wants good quality of life. So I think it's kind of where now compassion comes
Everybody
in. Everybody
deserves good quality
Absolutely.
of life. Yeah.
And so now anybody can be empathetic towards that. And so to see that and be like, yep, of course, absolutely.
Well, that's like the positive and the negative of social media. Like the negative side is that everything is right there and people just say whatever they want to say and it's on their mind. But at the same time, people are spending so much time on social media. Sometimes they're looking for the positive. They're looking for what else can be done. I see all the time everybody for their birthday. I'm raising money for this. I'm raising money for this. Yeah. People, and they're raising money. People are, instead of, we're at 30 something years old. No one's buying me a gift for my birthday. But if I put something up that says, for my birthday, I'm looking to raise funds for X, Y, or Z, people are more interested in giving. Because I feel like it's on social media, we're giving, it's so easy to just click $10 here. Yeah. We're just in a society right now where if something instant gratification, and I mean, it sounds more terrible, but like something more instant gratification makes us feel good, feels like we helped society in a way, we're more willing to do it just because it's right in your face on social media.
Yeah. Giving is giving.
Yeah.
Giving is giving.
But I think, and when you see a bunch of negative on social media, you're like looking for something positive.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of working in the disability community there's a lot of positives.
Oh, yeah.
It's like you don't get a lot of negative feedback about, at least, we haven't gotten a lot of negative feedback at all about our mission or who doesn't support people being able to travel and not have their wheelchair wrecked and, enjoy, all the places any able person can enjoy,
I don't know, but her name is probably Karen.
He said her name is probably Karen. Those
Karens out there.
Listen, we've all been a Karen.
That was a joke.
Point.
I do apologize to all my Karen friends out there. We love you. Okay. I got some Karens there.
Oh, you're funny.
Yeah.
So, Robin, what we like to ask all of our guests is if you had 30 seconds to speak to our community, what advice would you give them?
Oh, yes. I thought about this before.
Good.
My advice would be assess your evacuation plan. You never know when you're going to have an emergency happen. We all need an evacuation plan. Everybody does. Whether, whatever natural disaster you get in Boston, I don't know, blizzards and hurricanes, maybe. California, it's wildfires and earthquakes, Everybody needs an evacuation plan, and people with disabilities may need something beyond just what the rest of us have. If you need help getting out, you've got to have the ducks in a row before the emergency happens.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's so funny. Like, we teach children from kindergarten or preschool. Stop, drop, roll. Yeah. How do you get out of the house? Don't touch the handle. Check the windows. I mean, we're teaching these fire safety rules from preschool. I mean, from as soon as they can comprehend what it means. And then we talk about it on every commercial. It's on commercials. It's on TV. What to do if there's a fire? How do you get out of your home? What's your safety evacuation? I mean, I remember when our kids were little, it was like, okay, where are we meeting? If you ever had a fire and you get out of the house, where are we meeting? And what are your safety words? If a stranger, like you're teaching these emergency things to children at a very young age. Why wouldn't we be thinking about what would happen if in other situations as well? It should just be taught. It should just be a thing to have.
Absolutely. And I just think that none of us really, emergencies happen. You don't want to think about it, but you don't want to be stuck when it happens without a plan.
Yes.
And So that's the main thing. We have a resources tab. You might have found it on our website. And Miss Wheelchair California from 2018, Christina Jackson is our spokesperson. Strangely enough, when I met her, it was at an event up in Sacramento that the California Highway Patrol puts on, and she came up to our booth and said, "Oh my gosh, I wish I'd have had this a week ago because I needed to be evacuated out of my apartment."
Oh, no
because
way.
there was a fire. And I said, "Oh, will you be our spokesperson?" And that's how that all yeah.
And that's a perfect example is that, we're talking about what would happen on an airplane, but there are tiny quote unquote emergencies that happen on a regular basis that me and you might just think, oh, and if this happened, I would just go this way or I would leave this way. And there's a fire drill at, my work and I just walk out and, oh no, I forgot my jacket. Like that's what I'm thinking about. I forgot my purse, but for some people, it's a larger issue, even if it's a small thing, like there's a fire drill. How am I getting out of this building at 2 a.m?
Well, it's funny because I was just over at my clinic building. I had hand surgery 3 days ago. Anyway, while I was waiting in the waiting room to go in, there was a sign up above that had a wheelchair logo, and it said area of refuge.
Oh.
And it was in front of where the elevators are. And it got me thinking, we call our campaign the Why Wait campaign, #WhyWait.
Yeah.
When #minutes matter. And what people who use wheelchairs are told, on a high floor is to go to the area of refuge and wait on first responders to come to you.
So everyone's out of the building. You're just waiting for someone to come in.
Well, and my answer is why wait?
Yes.
When you have adapts, the people in the waiting room, me, the lady behind the desk, whatever, we can get them on it, grab a handle and go down the stairs with them.
Yes.
Oh yeah. And you'll start to notice, in a parking garage, there'll be a sign saying, this is where you wait for first responders if you use a wheelchair.
Well, not to mention, imagine just being in that situation and sorry, we'll catch you later. Bye, have a seat here. We'll catch you when someone shows up.
Running down the stairs and leaving somebody in a wheelchair at the top of the stairs.
No.
I couldn't imagine.
That's what I'm saying. You couldn't. I'd figure out a way to help them. You'd be like, well, how can I help this person? And you're wasting minutes.
So this would be my chance to show I got what it takes.
But you're
exactly.
You're wasting minutes. Like you said, you're wasting minutes just figuring out a plan at that moment when your brain's not even working right versus we've got a plan. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fantastic. So what are you working on next? I know things are probably a little bit different right now with COVID, but what is ADAPT's working on? What is it you're working on? What's coming next?
Well, my big shift now is since the Abilities Expos are canceled or postponed, I'm working on shifting as much as I can over to social media and online marketing and getting involved with various organizations like SCORE and some other, they help advise small businesses with, there's some COVID topics right now, how to adjust your marketing plan and so on. So that's the main thing. And the Abilities Expos, they just finished hosting a virtual Abilities Expo.
Yeah, that's great.
Which was really interesting. We participated in that. And the Northeast, you may know about this, but the Northeast Cerebral Palsy Foundation is hosting a virtual expo in October. So we'll be participating in that.
Nice.
So we're just kind of open to hearing, other ways of getting the awareness out and the marketing out. We'd love to be talking to the airlines right now, but, with the way they've cut back on flights and so on, and they're just in survival mode. That's kind of on the back burner for a while, I'm sure. But in the meantime, there's still natural disasters happening, and there's still a reason to have an emergency plan, and so that doesn't stop. We have a product that it's best if it's demoed and people can try it themselves,
right,
watch it on video somehow. So, reading about it, for example, or seeing an ad in a magazine or a story in a magazine doesn't really resonate with people as much as
an actual video, like a good visual.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I will say that's exactly, I think, what caught our attention when we were at the Abilities Expo is literally I was in one corner and Eddie was in another and called me over to be like, you have to watch them use this. They're using it right now. Like, watch how they use this. Like, it was because it's just not something you've seen before. And it's just, you watch it and you're like, oh my gosh, why have we not seen this before?
Yeah.
Like, we got to tell people about. We were like telling everyone we knew.
We'll
like,
buy one and make a testimonial video, and then we send it off to you guys, and then you kind of have like that little fun little thing.
Done. We'll grab one for sure. I mean, I would grab one anyways, just because we have friends.
Bring it to Boston. We'll take a trip out to Boston. We'll show you know. Yeah. Well, I get excited.
But we have friends.
Oh, your enthusiasm.
Clap my life.
I just like jump right in, but it's like.
But we have friends who, I mean, I would have one just to have in my house because we have friends who might need it in an emergency or we're with somebody. Like, I just think that's something you just, like, I put, emergency roadside kit in my trunk. It's something my dad always taught me to have. Well, this would be the same. Why wouldn't you just throw this in your trunk and have it with you in case you needed it? I don't care if I'm on the roadside. You see Eddie's favorite thing to do, not favorite thing to do, but every time we're driving, if someone's pulled over to the side of the road and they got a flat tire, they have an emergency, he's like, I gotta stop. I gotta stop and help them.
Are you okay?
I'm like,
you got tools? Okay, I got tools in the back. Here, let me pull over. I'll help you out.
But I think, like, what if we drove by someone that was, in a position that they needed help and we've got this in our trunk? I just think this isn't something that you need just because you have a disability. You just should have it in hand in case you run into a situation where you can be a help.
Well, and to that point, we had customers come up and say, hey, I want to buy two. I want one for the car.
Yes.
And then one for the house. And, exactly what you described. So we created a buy two coupon. So you get $25 off if you buy two.
Nice.
Because our customers asked for that.
Yeah.
So,
or a gift. I feel like it's even like a great, as a gift, like I feel like I know families that just like wouldn't think to purchase this for themselves and just be like, oh, I think this would be helpful to you. I know you're struggling, or I think that, you could utilize this. I just think.
I bought you your first one. You can go buy your second one.
Here's coupons.
Like
But I think that's great. So where can everyone find you?
So we are online. Our website is adapts.org.
Perfect.
And don't be confused with .com because that won't get you there. So it's adapts.org. And we have several tabs. We have a gallery that shows pictures of people using it. And we have reviews, people that have used it and given us a little quote. And we have a shop page. And, then we have the page about our story. And we have FAQs, tons and tons of FAQs. Because, of course, every time someone comes to our booth and asks a question, we add it to the FAQ.
That's great.
That's awesome.
And you're on social media, right? I saw you're on Instagram.
Yeah, we're on Instagram and we're on Twitter as adapts_team, and we're on Facebook as adapts.org.
Perfect.
And we're on LinkedIn as Adapts. And what have I left out? YouTube as Adapts.
Nice. You guys are everywhere. So everyone can find you.
Right. Good. Yeah, it's not hard. You can, even if you Google portable transfer sling, I think we're the first hit that comes up.
That's good. Well, that's good. But that also says that there isn't enough resources out there.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're looking into, as part of the shift, now that we aren't doing the Abilities Expos, we're looking into some, like a home medical equipment site, to put it up on. People have said, "Oh, go to Amazon," but
it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I'd rather go to places that are specific for products that the disability community is going to be using.
Well, I think every time we're looking for something, the first place I look is like our local durable medical equipment store.
Right.
And that's the first place I go. And then I'm like, can you get me this? Because usually they don't have it in store. I'm like, can you get me this? I'm looking for something like this. And then, we're both me and the store are researching what we can find. So, and some, we have stores here that you could just have this on the shelf.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're looking for, to get it out there for distribution. Because those are also mom and pop and small businesses a lot of times,
Yes.
and we really want to try to support the as much as we want people to support us as a small business, especially during COVID.
Yep.
Hoping all these little small businesses make it through this whole pandemic phase. We like to try to do the same thing.
Yeah. Awesome. Perfect.
Um,
Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate you taking the time to meet with us, especially through all our ups and downs with having to reschedule and everything. We really appreciate it and your time.
no problem. It's been really fun, and I've got nothing but time, so
Us too. We're just hanging out.
That's all we're doing. Well, thank you so much for listening. We really hope you enjoyed this episode. As always, please make sure you share with a friend and leave a review.
You can find all the resources mentioned in this episode on our Facebook or Instagram on @specialaboutspecial. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon.